Stop right now, because what you are about to hear is not just another royal scandal. This is the explosive moment a forgotten ghost from the past reaches into a locked drawer to pull out a sealed envelope that could legally annihilate the marriage of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and strip them of every shred of their royal dignity. We are talking about a documentary dossier so terrifyingly credible that it doesn't just threaten a brand, it threatens to rewrite the history of the modern monarchy by exposing a hidden truth that has been hiding in plain sight for nearly a decade. While the world watched a meticulously crafted billion-dollar fairy tale of a biracial actress rescuing a wounded prince, a silent witness was living in the shadows, scrubbed from the official biography despite being the primary architect and financial anchor of Meghan Markle's early life, her ex-husband, Trevor Englesen. The press dismissed him as a starter marriage, a mere footnote to be forgotten the second the diamond tiara touched her head, but the quiet period is catastrophically over. As the final days of April 2026 unfold, reports from the deepest inner circles of Hollywood and the legal corridors of Buckingham Palace reveal that Englesen has reached his absolute breaking point. This isn't a bitter ex looking for a payday or 15 minutes of fame. This is a methodical execution of a public image by a man who feels professionally sabotaged and publicly humiliated by the woman he once supported through her darkest, most invisible years. The legend of their ending, a returned wedding ring sent via FedEx with no phone call and no farewell, left a career under a suffocating siege while the world was sold a narrative of a victimized humanitarian. But Englesen saw a different woman, a version that does not match the polished PR character currently being marketed, and he is reportedly coming forward with a massive, incontrovertible dossier designed to blow a hole straight through the Sussex brand. This is a formal declaration of war, and the target is the very legal and constitutional foundation of Meghan's standing with the British Crown. He isn't shopping a manuscript, he is allegedly presenting findings directly to the highest legal authorities at the palace, acting as the ultimate executioner of a public image built on a precarious series of elaborate omissions and outright deceptions. What could be so damaging that it makes the ancient gates of the palace tremble and forces a king to reconsider the legitimacy of his own son's marriage? The answer is more shocking than any tabloid headline, because it points back to a chapter of her life that predates the glamour, predates Suits, and predates that televised walk down the aisle. A period where persistent whispers suggest her marriage to Trevor wasn't her second legal union, but her third. If this claim of a hidden first marriage from her time at Northwestern University in the late 1990s is proven true, we are no longer looking at a youthful mistake, we are looking at a catastrophic systemic failure of the royal vetting process. When a commoner marries into the direct line of succession, MI5 and MI6 conduct a deep tissue forensic investigation where every stone is turned over to ensure no risk to the stability of the crown. How could a legally binding marriage escape the most sophisticated intelligence apparatus on the planet? The theory is chilling: a rapidly sealed annulment in another jurisdiction designed to wipe the event from public records. Or, even more damning, that intelligence services were explicitly ordered to ignore the red flags by a royal household terrified of upsetting a volatile young prince. To lie before the altar at St. George's Chapel is to commit an act of institutional fraud against the state itself, and rumors suggest Prince Harry exerted massive, unrelenting pressure to speed up the vetting, weaponizing narratives of racism to shield his future wife from the prying eyes of the establishment. This single moment of institutional weakness in 2017 created a legal loophole that is now, in March 2026, threatening to collapse the entire Sussex structure. A woman with a secret, undocumented history is a woman who can be manipulated or leveraged by hostile forces, and this is the precise danger Englesen is dangling over the palace gates. But there is a secondary allegation in that dossier that carries even heavier moral weight, an allegation that would permanently turn global public opinion against her: the rumored existence of a child born from that early hidden union, allegedly given up for adoption to clear the path for a fiercely ambitious actress whose desire for fame would not tolerate motherhood. While legacy media ignored these claims as trollbait, Englesen was the only person in a position to hear the unvarnished truth during their years of intimacy. If he possesses documentation of a firstborn child allegedly erased in the quest for social elevation, Meghan's identity as the empathetic champion of motherhood would plummet into a narrative of sociopathic deceit. For Harry, a man haunted by the loss of his own mother and obsessed with breaking the cycle of generational pain, discovering his wife made the exact opposite choice with her own flesh and blood would be a moral atomic bomb. It would destroy his understanding of who his wife actually is, revealing the empathy she mirrored as nothing more than a calculated mirage designed to capture his wounded heart. Stop and think about the Yacht Girl past, a phrase that is an unmitigated nightmare for the Sussex PR team. This isn't about a summer party, it strikes at the core of the transactional method she allegedly used to climb the Hollywood ladder. Englesen's dossier reportedly includes guest lists, private unreleased photographs, and flight manifests from luxury superyachts in the Mediterranean, where networking was a sanitized euphemism for companionship provided to billionaires and power brokers in exchange for career access. If her rise was funded by associations in direct opposition to her feminist values, her brand collapses under the weight of its own hypocrisy. For a monarchy trying to distance itself from the sleaze of the Prince Andrew era, documented proof of these compromised circles offers the rock-solid ammunition needed to take final action. It allows King Charles to act not as a vengeful father, but as the protector of the crown, transforming a celebrity feud into a legitimate constitutional crisis of integrity. And it doesn't stop with photos, it extends to the TIG archives, the raw, unedited data from her former lifestyle blog that Englesen reportedly still accesses. These archives allegedly show a woman in the aggressive process of pruning her history and fabricating a persona long before she met Harry, proving she wasn't a girl who didn't know who he was, but a woman who meticulously planned her entry into elite circles. The pressure of these looming disclosures is already fracturing the walls of their Montecito estate, with reports of wall-shaking arguments as Harry demands the truth about the omissions in her history. He gave up his military titles, his country, and his brother to save her from what he believed was a predatory press. But what happens to his sanity when he realizes the press was just uncovering the suppressed truth? Was he a hero or just a gullible piece in a much longer game of blind ambition? As the world waits for the next leak from the Englesen files, the era of the uncontested Sussex narrative is officially over. The fairy tale is crumbling into dust, and the truth is the only thing that cannot be reinvented. The icy, relentless precision of a military operation is currently moving through the halls of London as Trevor Englesen's unprecedented decision to bypass the tabloid media and take his dossier straight to the palace has fundamentally changed the endgame for the Sussexes. King Charles, a man defined by a desire for healing and diplomacy, has been handed an irrefutable basis for decisive action that is fact-based and legally documented rather than emotional. If this dossier conclusively proves a calculated deceit was committed during the high-stakes security vetting process prior to the royal wedding, the king has a clear, unassailable, and constitutionally mandated path to strip them of their titles once and for all. This wouldn't be viewed as a father's petty spite, but as the necessary protection of the crown against an infiltrator who allegedly lied to the state to secure her position. While the king holds the ultimate power, it is the Prince of Wales, Prince William, who is reportedly leading the charge behind the scenes, shifting from personal annoyance to a fierce defense of the institution he is destined to lead. William and Catherine have dedicated their lives to duty, and they see the Sussex issue as a toxic, radioactive mess that must be surgically removed before it tarnishes the throne for their own children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. The weapon of choice is whispered to be the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, a severe piece of legislation historically reserved for traitors, which top legal experts suggest could be expanded to cover high-level deliberate deception during a state vetting process. If King Charles executes this nuclear option, the Sussex brand, currently worth millions in California speaking engagements and streaming contracts, vanishes literally overnight because its only value is the illusion of royal prestige. Without the titles, they are just Harry and Meghan, private citizens with a fully exposed past that has finally caught up to them, stripped of the very armor they used to conquer Hollywood. The fallout is already manifesting in the executive suites of Los Angeles, where perception is the only reality that matters. Meghan is rapidly shifting from a global icon to a massive, uncontrollable liability, and the freezing out has begun with unreturned phone calls and revoked invitations to the elite galas that were once her playground. The town that rolled out the red carpet is now methodically rolling it back up as talent agencies assess the blast radius of a scandal involving secret marriages and fabricated histories. This is is a brutal confrontation between a meticulously manicured billion-dollar PR machine and a dark history that refuses to remain in the shadows. Meghan Markle has perfected the art of the rebrand, but every building is only as strong as its foundation, and hers appears to be built on a bed of omissions and altered timelines that were destined to crumble when the wind blew hard enough. The terrifying silence currently emanating from their sprawling Montecito mansion is the silence of a bunker anticipating a direct hit, hinting at deep structural fissures within the marriage that no amount of therapy or joint podcasting can fix. For Prince Harry, the road ahead is incredibly lonely and fraught, with the realization that he burned every bridge to reach a sanctuary that was actually a mirage built on lies. He alienated his family and his country only to find he was likely a gullible piece in a much longer, more intricate game of blind ambition. The era of the uncontested Sussex narrative is officially over because Trevor Englesen has unlocked a heavy iron door that cannot be closed, and the truth flowing through it is changing the way the world sees the Duchess forever. For King Charles, it is the heavy, sorrowful duty of a monarch over the loyalty of a father. For Meghan, it is the insurmountable challenge of surviving the unvarnished truth without the protection of the royal crest. The game is no longer about Hollywood fame or scoring titles. It is about the absolute reality of history, which is the only thing in this saga that cannot be reinvented. As the walls of Montecito close in and the palace prepares its final strike, the ghost in the machine has spoken. The fairy tale is dead, and the chapter that began with Trevor Englesen's locked drawer is the one that will rewrite everything you thought you knew for the rest of your life. Stay close, because the next 48 hours are about to make global headlines as this hidden truth finally explodes into the light.